You don't want to allow him to get it going off of your mistakes defensively.
Oh, Curry goes down hard. Landed on his back, hit his head as he tried to block Ariza. Wow. Unable to brace the fall.
Oh boy. Let's hope Wade is okay.
Goodness.
He got hit in the head.
Hello, this is Paul Nelson with Western Sport Floors, Wyoming Wood Floors. I'm coming to you today from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I have my friend, Mr. Dr. Paul Elliott.
Thank you, Paul.
How are we doing today?
Very well on a cold, snowy day.
Dr. Elliott, just tell me a little bit about you and your resume and what you've done.
I got my doctorate in engineering from Purdue University. Got that for research on sports surfacing, performance, and simulation. Worked as a research and design engineer for one of the U.S. firms who provided sports floors. I designed hardwood floors, managed international testing for years, and then started my own consulting company for testing, where we test not only basketball floors, but also running tracks, turf fields, playgrounds, and a variety of sports equipment.
And your company is ASET Services?
ASET Services out of Indiana, yes.
So real briefly, for a history, for anybody that might not be familiar, gymnasium floors look something like these two samples that I have in front of me. They have some configuration of pads, a stringer, plywood, and maple. And I also have some different pads. There's certainly other pads than this. And within those different pad configurations, then there's different systems that use the same pads.
Yes.
So there's lots and lots and lots of different floor systems. There has been, in the past, some testing on these floor systems, and the primary test for a maple gymnasium floor is a DIN or pure test. Can you talk briefly about what those tests are and what they entail?
Yeah, the DIN standards originated in Germany, and they've been around. They were introduced in 1998 in the U.S. They really focus on lower extremity injuries or lower extremity impacts. So knees, ankles, hips, and they focus on keeping the floor playable by making sure you attain a reasonable ball bounce.
When you're talking about ball bounce, we have two competing things, because the ball bounces best on concrete, right?
Right.
But we found that the athlete running up and down the gym floor, it's really hard on his or her hips, knees, and ankles to run on concrete.
Correct.
Wear that athlete out.
But if you talk about the innovation that was able to go on because of DIN, which started, or MFMA Pure, or the other standards, if you think about the innovation, right, today's systems can get you 50, 60% shock absorption and still have 90, 93, 95, 98% of rebound of concrete. So the innovation that went in to make the floor softer and still playable then allowed you to make them softer and allowed the market to innovate and solve a problem to maintain that ball bounce while giving you a softer floor.
Got it. So we have a floor that has some shock absorbency for the hips, knees, and ankles, and yet the ball still has a fairly lively bounce.
Yes.
Okay. Now what I'd like you to do, you're a tester. Can you talk about the different tests? You have two different weights here. Just real briefly explain what they are and where testing is today.
Well, within the maple industry, we focus primarily on lower extremity impacts, but there's a variety of systems and a variety of surfaces, and most of those have started to look at other impacts, head injury impacts in specific. This is a 20-pound weight that we'll test a synthetic turf with. This is a 10-pound weight that was developed specifically for playgrounds, where we look at the playground's ability to protect a child from a fall.
Can you explain why that has the shape that it does?
The diameter of this was really based on some of the average dimensions of a child's skull. I think specifically about a 12-year-old child. This is like the 95th percentile of a 12-year-old child's skull diameter.
Okay. And that test is called a...
Within the playground industry and turf, one of the common tests we use is an HIC test, head injury criteria.
And so this isn't something you've made up.
No, there are ASTM standards for turf. Turf measures Gmax, which is deceleration or force during the impact. Playgrounds measure Gmax, but also measure head injury criteria, which is another number.
Which is an HIC number.
HIC is what it's abbreviated in the industry.
And so the conversation that you and I have been having, Dr. Elliott, is that can we have a gymnasium floor with a maple surface? Mm-hmm. The consumers love the look of a maple floor.
Right.
It's always the showplace in any facility that it's in.
Right.
But still be able to pass the more stringent HIC test, which is what they're using in playgrounds, or some form of the HIC test.
We can develop a wood floor today that offers you the biomechanic properties of today for lower extremities, and we can improve on the head injury criteria. We can offer wood floors today that offer you significant protection at 4 or 5 feet, a fall of 4 or 5 feet. If we look at some of the harder systems that exist today, those systems might have an HIC of 3,000, and 1,000 is the maximum level. Those might have an HIC of 3,000 from a 2-foot fall height.
So there's systems out there right now.
Right now, there are systems, legacy systems, and some new, but they're hard systems. They might have an HIC of 3,000 at, say, 2 feet fall height. We can take a new system with shock absorption and ball bounce that complies to DIN or pure, and we can lower the HIC from 3,000 to probably 800 or less, and we can increase the fall heights from 2 feet to 4 feet, and we've even done a few at 5 or 6 feet.
Got it. And so just for anybody that's wondering, there's floors that you believe that will pass or get close as they're existing right now to your HIC standard under 1,000.
Yeah, what the industry has to decide, or what the industry needs to kind of decide at, is within a floor that's going to offer a fall protection, what's our minimum height that we think a floor should provide fall protection at? Is it, say, at 3 feet or 4 feet? Should we be able to provide a fall protection from 3 or 4 feet that's below 1,000 HIC? And that should be kind of the minimum. And then let innovation take that to 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, but still maintain passing in these critical DIN parameters, which are force reduction and ball bounce.
Got it.
Yeah. There currently is no standard for head injury criteria on gymnasium floors. And to be honest, there won't be a true like ASTM standard for a long time. We are working on providing and developing the documentation and hope to have that done within the next couple months so that the industry can start to understand what HIC is. They can start to understand how it applies to floors. And we're going to provide some loose guidance as to a starting point for where that standard is so that companies that want to evaluate floors to this can at least use that information to say, we're using this standard test from playgrounds to evaluate HIC and provide critical injury protection to athletes on our hardwood floors.
That is awesome. So just in case anybody's wondering, you're a lab, you're a testing company.
Yes, sir.
You're just writing some potential guidance. You're looking for a manufacturer to come in and be able to design a floor system that meets that guidance to provide head injury.
We're going to provide the framework for manufacturers to design those systems.
Got it. Got it. All right. As usual, Dr. Elliott, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
We are going to attach to this video some information on head injuries, head injury criteria that Dr. Elliott has developed. And so you can read this information for yourself. And if you're interested, please get a hold of me through this video. Thank you. For Western Sport Floors and Wyoming Wood Floors, this is Paul Nelson. You make it a great day.